Good morning, BC. Another cold day in Ohio. It was below zero this morning. I got the same flannel shirt as I did yesterday. It's not too smelly, so anyhow. I'm going to show you some used jazz albums that I bought in the past, 6 months or so. I buy a lot of them in Fort Wayne, Indiana at Wooden Nickel Records. They have, I believe they have 4 stores spread out in the city over there. Now the one I usually go to has a pretty good jazz selection. Out of all the stores, if you want jazz, you'll go to that location. So anyhow, the first record I want to show is, I'm a Jimmy Smith organist, Hammond B3 fan. I picked this up over there. It's the Organ Grinder Swing by the incredible Jimmy Smith, featuring Kenny Burrell. Now this is on Verve Records, which I'll show you the. Now this was recorded in 1965, although this pressing here is actually 1981. I really like their plastic sleeve in here. I usually hate these flimsy things, but at least it's got the curve on there and it makes it bearable. Now this is on Verve Records. As you can see there, the shape of the record and actually the album is very good, very good. Happy with that. Now this was recorded at the Van Gelder Studios, I believe. Yeah, in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. Like I said, 1965. 3-piece. Jimmy Smith is on the B3, Kenny Burrell, which he played on countless albums of Jimmy's as the guitar. On drums is Grady Tate, which I'm not that familiar with that name. Anyhow, this album is a kick-ass album. I love the actual recording is Van Gelder. He did a fantastic job. It's more of a modern day recording. Everything is just so clean. It's got 6 songs on here. I prefer the side 1. It's got green sleeves on the other side, satin doll. Anyhow, this is, I'm glad I picked that up. Jimmy Smith. Excellent. Excellent. Since we're on Jimmy Smith, here is another Jimmy Smith album. What's it called? Any Number Can Win. It's got a promotional copy sticker on there. That's the front. The back is Jimmy in his Jag. I assume XKE, the way it looks. Let's have a look at the inner sleeve. That's a great photo. Jimmy in the studio at the Hammond. The Hammond is a beast. He is a beast. Now this was recorded in 1963, July. Rudy Van Gelder was the engineer, along with Phil Macy and Phil Ramone. Phil Ramone. Didn't he do a lot of rock albums? I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyhow, this is also on Verve Records. Now this one is, as opposed to the one I just showed you, the organ grinder swing, this is a big band. Lots of horns. I prefer Jimmy Smith in a trio or quartet. I'm not a fan of these big band albums, although I can understand why I'm sure he was ready to try something different. He'd been doing the 3-piece and 4-piece for years at Blue Note, so when he went with Verve, he could get kind of like an orchestra behind him. Like I said, it's not one of my favorite Jimmy Smith, but it's okay. Let's continue with the Hammond. Another Jimmy. That's Jimmy McGriff. Countdown at the Hammond organ. Now this was recorded in 1983. Engineer is Rudy Van Geller. The sound on this album, the recording is excellent. It's so clean, and I love the recording here. They have a nice little band here: trombone, sax, organ, guitar, and drums. I'm not that familiar with the backing band, but it sounds super. This is a very good album. Okay, continuing with the Hammond B3. I have a Hammond. It's not an old B3. It'd be the new digital equivalent of the Hammond B3. It's called the XK3C or something, with the dual keyboard and everything. It's all digital though. They try to get the original Hammond sounds, which it does a pretty good job. Anyhow, so I've heard some music and some videos of Lonnie Smith, Dr. Lonnie Smith, on the organ. So I saw this over at Wood Nickel for a couple bucks. What's it called? Lonnie Liston Smith. Song for the Children. There's the front, and there's the back. So I came home. I was all thrilled with getting a Dr. Lonnie Smith used album. I was, ooh. Anyhow, so I put it on. Let's see what record label it is. Oh, wow. It's on Columbia. Anyhow, so I put it on, and it's like soul, I don't know if it's jazz, soul, a little funkish, and there, I didn't hear an organ. I thought, what the hell? So anyhow, went on Wikipedia and it's searched for Lonnie Smith. It said Dr. Lonnie Smith. Then it said not to be confused with Lonnie Liston Smith, another musician. Well, I picked the wrong Lonnie Smith, and so I am not too thrilled with that album. I don't know. Okay, next used album. What date is this? 1976. The Brecker Brothers. Let's show you the inside. And that's the band. You know, I can't see over the top. So that's the band. Randy Brecker plays trumpets, flugelhorn. Michael Brecker saxophone, flute. David Sanborn plays on this album. Keyboards, drums. It says joined by Steve Gadd on one. That name sounds real familiar. I don't know. Was he a rock? I don't know. Anyhow, this is on Arista Records. I don't know if you can see, it's a blue, light blue label. I was on YouTube one time looking at some concert videos, and I ran across the Brecker Brothers. And anyhow, I was looking on, I love Todd Rundgren, and one of my favorite albums is, well, I have a couple, but I think it was on Something Anything, the one with Hello, It's Me. And Todd has one side that's kind of like alive in the studio, and there's horns on there. And it was, I think it was the Brecker Brothers, or Michael Brecker, I'm not sure, which always sound great. I think the song was Dust in the Wind, not the Kansas song. But anyhow, so I got it. I picked this up for a couple bucks, and it's jazz fusion, which I have not listened to it too much, but it's very good. It was very good done. This next album I picked up at a very small music store. I saw it, and I wasn't familiar with Ray Brown, but it was only a couple bucks, so I bought it. It's, I believe, pretty much a three-piece bass piano. Ray Brown plays bass. A couple songs have maybe a guitar or sax on there. Most of them are kind of like standards, but very, very good, excellent. I prefer to have a little more horns added in, but this is good. And this was, I'm not sure when, probably in the 70s. And it is on Concord Jazz. There we go. The glare is kind of rough in this room, but and the name of the album is Solar Energy, spelled S-O-U-L-A-R, right at the top. It's a pretty good album. Now this next is, I picked this up, I think at Wooden Nickel, for a couple bucks. The Best of Cannonball Adderley. Now the reason I picked this particular album up is it has the song Mercy, Mercy, Mercy that Joe Zawinul wrote, and that was a hit. Oh, when was it? 66 maybe? And then the Buckinghams re-recorded it the next year. I don't know if they added the lyrics or if the original song had lyrics, and it was a hit again. So they played both versions of Mercy, Mercy, Mercy on the radio. This particular album has at least, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 songs from that album. It was called Live at, I'm not sure what it was called, but it was Cannonball Adderley Live at the club or something like that. And I think on the back of that album, they said that it was recorded in the club, name of a bar in Chicago, which it turns out it was not recorded there. Cannonball knew the owner of this venue, and he thought he would just give him some free publicity saying, hey, this album was recorded at my buddy's club in Chicago. It was actually recorded, I believe, in, let's see, okay, it's on Capitol. This particular one's a green Capitol label. It was recorded in the Capitol Studios, I believe I'm not sure if it was LA or, I'm not sure. But what they did, it was recorded live in Capitol Studios. And what they did was they invited a bunch of their friends, of Cannonball's friends, and they had like an open bar and hors d'oeuvres and everything. So the people in this crowd, you can hear them yelling and screaming all the way through the album. It's really cool. It's like there's a party going on. So, and actually on this album, like I said, it's the best of Cannonball, Nat Adderley, his brother, Yusef Lateef, flute, Joe Zawinul, piano, Sam Jones, bass, Lewis Hayes on drums, and it goes on. So that's very good. Excellent. This next album I bought, it was used, and also Wooden Nickel. I'm not a huge fan of the modern jazz quartet. It's nice, kind of predictable. You know, they always did a lot of standards, but this is the last concert. Supposedly the last concert they did, which the more I read, well, it wasn't the last concert, but whatever. It says here 1975. It's 2 albums. It is on Atlantic Records. Sound quality is great. I bought this for, I don't know, $6 or something. It sounds real good, quality and everything. I'm just not a, huge modern jazz quartet fan, but it's super music. It sounds really good. Okay. This next album, this was probably my favorite pickup. Also Wooden Nickel. This is Dave Brubeck Quartet in Europe. I think it was recorded, I'm not sure, pretty much in Scandinavia on a tour they made in 1958 over to Europe. It is on Columbia. It's got some hefty weight to this on the 6i of Columbia. Now this particular pressing is the original. I checked on Discogs and made sure it's definitely, I'm pretty sure it's original. You can tell by the back of the album's little, not, actually it's really good shape, but anyhow, so this was recorded in 1958, and it's got the classic lineup that was used in The next year, 1959, they recorded Time Out. Well, this is the same lineup. Paul Desmond and everybody, the four people are the same ones in the group. This is excellent. Sound quality is super. It sounds like it was recorded in a concert hall. Sounds like there's, I don't know, several hundred people there. So it is in it's in mono, which I love. Okay, here's the last album I will show. I had never heard this until I bought it. I got it for, I don't know, $6 or $7. Keith Jarrett, the Cologne concert, this is ungodly. I had never heard it before. Just him improvising on piano. There's a photo. I think it was it was recorded live at the Opera in Cologne, Germany, January 1975. I think over the years this has sold, I don't know, I'm thinking like 3 million copies or something. Several. You know, it was one of the top selling jazz albums. Kind of like the story behind this was, this was recorded at, I'm not sure what venue. It was an opera house, I think. And they had a previous opera or something earlier that night. So this concert didn't start, I believe, until around midnight. And it was sold out. I'm not sure how many seats. I don't know, probably 800 or something. That's a wild guess. I don't know. But anyhow, the story behind this is that, okay, the concert was to start at midnight, and they had arranged to get, you know, Keith's choice of piano. Well, they got the wrong piano, and they had it all set up, and the idea was Keith Jarrett, he was going to record this concert. And, well, the piano was kind of crappy. It was not good. You know, it's not what he had expected to play on. So anyhow, there was no other choice. They couldn't really cancel the concert because it was sold out. And as far as recording, they had all the recording equipment set up, and they thought about not even recording it, but they decided to go ahead and record it. And boy, I'm glad they did. It's amazing. It will blow your mind, especially if you maybe are in an altered state. It's on the ECM records. So anyhow, it's a 2-album set. Fantastic. I would recommend that to anybody. So that's it for today. Stay warm, and I will see you later.